I did not know that.
Welcome to another episode of I Did Not Know That. Thanks for stopping by. Ever wonder about something? Maybe you'll find it here. Check out all the other videos on this channel and remember to like and subscribe. While Mayberry had its main characters like Barney Fife, Aunt Bee, and of course Andy, it also had many characters who made an impact on viewers even though they weren't regulars. Ernest T. Bass was one of the best, and he only appeared 5 times on the show. The Darlings were another and were on 6 episodes. Even though he was only on 3 episodes, one of my favorites was Malcolm Merriweather. He was very humble and likable, but at times a bit bumbling. He called himself the gentleman's gentleman, and he was played by actor Bernard Fox. Fox was a familiar face on TV in the 1960s. He's probably best remembered as Dr. Bombay in Bewitched, but he was also on Hogan's Heroes, F Troop, MASH, The Dick Van Dyke Show, and many, many more. Before we get into his comment about replacing Barney Fife as deputy, I thought you might be interested in learning more about him. During World War II, he served on a minesweeper in the Royal Navy. He very often played British officers, and in fact, he said he modeled his Dr. Bombay and Bewitched character on a naval officer who he served with during the war. He also played the buffoonish Colonel Rodney Crittenden in Hogan's Heroes. He seemed to pretty much disappear for a while, and then I was surprised to see him pop up in the film The Mummy in the late 1990s as an old pilot. He was also in the film Titanic around that same time. He had the distinction of being in 2 films about the sinking of the Titanic. In 1958, he appeared in a version of the tragedy called A Night to Remember, and he actually got to deliver the immortal line, "Get ahead, sir!" He also made an appearance in the blockbuster film Titanic.
Well, the boy's a hero then. Good for you, son. Well done.
During a 1998 reunion of some of the Andy Griffth Show cast, Fox did an interview and talked about what may have become of his Mayberry character, Malcolm Merriweather. He said that he could see Malcolm returning to Mayberry. He also added that he thought since Barney Fife was no longer deputy, he thought that Malcolm would apply for the job. You have to admit, there were a lot of people who had stepped in as deputy or wore the uniform in Mayberry, as you can see here. Well, maybe it'd be easy to find out who hadn't been a deputy in Mayberry at one time or another. Of course, the truth is, no one could take the place of Don Knotts. He was a rare talent, and the chemistry between Knotts and Andy Griffith was unique. Okay, the photo with Bernard Fox was actually not Merriweather as a deputy. This is from the episode called Malcolm at the Crossroads, and he was a crossing guard. It was the final episode that Fox appeared in, and it was also the last episode for Howard Morris as Ernest T. Bass. Bass had been hired by Andy to work as a crossing guard, but Bass couldn't resist throwing rocks and bricks at vehicles who didn't follow his directions, so Andy had to fire him. You could see here that Malcolm was pretty comical as the crossing guard. You can use your imagination a bit and see how he might have had some fun as a deputy, and aside from being funny, there was something warm and likable about his character.
Aren't you kind? Aren't you kind?
Well. Unlike Warren, played by Jack Burns, who most people just found irritating. It might have been fun to see Malcolm in at least one episode as deputy on the Andy Griffth Show. We all know that no one could replace Barney Fife, but was there another character that you enjoyed seeing as Andy's deputy? Hey, that wraps up another episode, and I want to thank you so much for stopping by.